1999, a new artist emerged from the USA and had such a huge impact on the pop scene since her debut album was released that people have been hailing her as the next Madonna. Britney Spears is the type of engaging performer that would inspire any girl or boy thinking of becoming a pop star. Motivated by a burning desire to express herself on stage and a restlessness to keep learning, Britney is a multi-talented performer with the world at her feet.
I love what I do. You know, honestly, I love what I do, and that's what keeps me going.
Britney Spears was born on December 2nd, 1981, in the small town of Kentwood, Louisiana. Kentwood is a traditional, hard-working, rural and close-knit community where there is little else to do but go to school or work and then meet up and chat with friends. That was until a star was born, who within a short space of time would put this friendly southern town firmly on the USA's showbiz map.
Kentwood is, I think, typical of a lot of the small towns in the South, the southern part of the United States, where in a lot of ways it is still a very idyllic upbringing. Everyone knows everybody. You know, you cruise the main drag on weekend nights. You know, you can find trouble, but you usually have to make your own pretty much. I mean, there's not, you know, a lot of like crime or anything like that. It's a very rural setting. You know, so, you know, you drive down these little Louisiana highways with your friends at high speeds, and that's like one of the things you do. Would have been real close. Church would have been a big part of the community, I guess. You know, would have played a large role in just shaping the kind of tone of the community. She still has a lot of her friends that she grew up with, so that kind of speaks to the close-knit atmosphere that she grew up in, and the fact that the friends that she made then are still very much her friends.
It's a town that has its origins in the timber industry, and that went out years back. They also have a natural source of spring water, which they bottle, which Britney is often seen drinking in public. And Britney rose to become the next big thing in Kentwood, or actually the only thing in Kentwood.
It was not long until Britney's mother, Lynn, noticed that her young daughter possessed a natural talent for performing. So soon after, Britney was enrolled at the René Donois School of Dance, where the future princess of pop was starting to get a taste of things to come.
I think part of what made Britney so successful so early was that she really did have an incredibly powerful voice at a very young age. Because she had started taking lessons at like, I think she was taking dancing lessons at like 3 and winning pageants at 5 or something like that. When she was around 8, she sang in public at a church. And her voice was so powerful that people thought she was lip syncing, which is ironic because at the time she wasn't lip syncing. That would come much later. So she was really driven at a very young age. She always wanted to perform, and she always wanted to win. And at the time, because her talent was so precocious, she would win most of the things she went out for.
From an early age, I always knew I wanted to perform, and, you know, doing that, you know, fame comes with that. So, I mean, I'm just, you know, I've always wanted to perform and being on stage, and that's the best feeling in the world.
When I first met Britney, my grandma went to church in Kentwood, Louisiana. It was named Greenlaw Baptist Church, and she went there and sung a couple of times. And she sung Victory in Jesus the first time I heard her. She got up there, and I figured that she would be nervous because, you know, she is singing in a big crowd, because Greenlaw ain't really a big church, but it was back then whenever she went.
When I first heard Britney's voice, I knew from that very moment that she was going to be a star when she grew up. And she gave you, I mean, when she performed, you knew by looking at her, she had everything it took to become a star at a young age. nobody in Kentwood was surprised that Britney became a big star. We were just waiting for the day when she did become a big star.
Well, she performed at a lot of local things and was usually the dominant winner. But the big one was Star Search. That was one of the really early ones. And the first one, actually, or one of the first ones, that she didn't win. But she got very high. Like, she won the first round, and I forget exactly how old she was, but it was around 10. And she went, and ironically, Justin Timberlake was in the same competition, although he wasn't Timberlake yet, he was Justin Randall. But Britney was in this competition and won the first round, and, you know, had this really gold lame kind of outfit on, and was really very flamboyant. And then she lost in the final to a 12-year-old boy named Marty Thomas. And what was interesting is that backstage, Britney was so distraught, so upset, that Marty even had to comfort her, you know? This poor kid just won Star Search, but instead of really just enjoying it to the fullest, he's kind of helping Britney out because she was so upset.
Britney's New York biographer, Larry Getlin, has followed her career right back to her first auditions for the Mickey Mouse Club in 1989.
Britney auditioned for the Mickey Mouse Club the first time, I believe, when she was about 9. There was an open call, and 2,000 kids showed up, and 6 were picked, and Britney was one of them. Problem was that the people at Disney felt Britney was too young. So she was actually rejected the first time, even though she passed the audition. But the casting director was incredibly impressed with her and knew in his mind that Britney would be back. So he kept in touch with her and Lynn and actually referred Britney to a casting agent who encouraged them to move to New York. And Britney went to school and took more lessons and actually was cast in a play called Ruthless, which ironically was about a young child so desperate to be famous that she was willing to kill for it. So Britney got to play like the evil, precocious child, which, again, very ironic. But she didn't really take to New York. I guess she missed her hometown, and so she stayed in New York for a while, did the play, then came back to Kentwood, and then soon after that, Disney held auditions again. So she went back, and she was a few years older now, and this time they ushered her right in.
You know, the Mickey Mouse Club, especially that era of the Mickey Mouse Club, was sort of a proving ground for future pop stars. I mean, obviously, you know, Christina Aguilera and Justin Timberlake were there with her, which is an incredible percentage of the class that has gone on to fame and fortune. Yeah, there again, I mean, you know, the Mickey Mouse Club was not, I don't think it had ever really been seen as a breeding ground for pop stars necessarily, the most recent incarnation, but that's what it turned out to be. Because the same skills that she used in that are the ones that have taken her to arena stages around the world. You know, the singing, the dancing, they're able to be sort of instantly likable on stage. All that stuff was honed with the Mickey Mouse Club.
Britney associating with herself with that attached her name to a very wholesome franchise, and it certainly got her career going. It gave her a boost. I wouldn't say, I think most Mouseketeers have that opportunity. It's up to them afterwards how far they can go, and Britney was a standout.
And who would have thought that the producers there or the casting directors had such a keen eye for talent, because they picked out some huge stars, and all of these people perhaps had a great launch pad. The show helped them to forge ahead and get to success, but actually they all had this innate talent that meant they did actually have star potential.
After the Mickey Mouse Club, she went back to Kentwood, finished up high school, did all that. And while this was all going on, she had met a lawyer in New York named Larry Rudolph, who later went on to become her manager. Larry had connections at Jive Records. He was trying to get Britney auditions with several of the labels. And Britney did a little audition tour where she had to go up to the labels, meet the people, and actually sing for them in their offices. And I guess the folks at Jive Records saw the potential. But the folks at Jive did something that was brilliant. And that was they hooked her up with a producer named Max Martin.
Well, to be honest with you, I'd been recording for a while, and they sent Baby to Jive Records from Sweden. Max Martin wrote the song, and I heard the song, and automatically I was like, you know what, this is going to be a hit, and it was amazing. So
Baby One More Time, it had a great hook, no doubt. I mean, it had, you know, and the compression in her vocals sort of added a little bit of mystery to it. You know, it sounded great in clubs. You know, it's the sort of song that doesn't take a lot of imagination to latch onto. I mean, which is what the perfect pop song is. It's something that should be instantly digestible and instantly memorable. And Baby One More Time certainly was. And so especially when coupled with the video, you know, it really worked.
Baby Hit Me One More Time was a massive worldwide hit for lots of reasons. A, it was a great pop song. Hear it on the radio, it leapt out of the radio. It's just well-written, simple, great pop song. The second thing about it was it had this very sexy video, which it's kind of it's the stereotype male fantasy of the schoolgirl, and she looked fantastic, but it was a bit of fun as well. You know, the kids dancing around the school. It was a simple, well-made, sexy video.
I think that song, had it not been married to that video, would not have had nearly the impact that it did. The schoolgirl scene in the video was, you know, a stroke of marketing genius that apparently Britney came up with herself. Apparently that was her idea to do the schoolgirl outfit. And that visual married with the song was really what broke it. I mean, the song's fine. It's a fine pop song. But what was remarkable was the video. And that's what really, I think, broke that song open.
When I first saw Baby One More Time, I think we were all a little bit stunned in the office because here was quite a saucy schoolgirl and she was not ashamed to be showing her flesh, and she was quite young as well, so we were like, this girl's a little bit rude. And, you know, every boy that was sat in the office almost fell off their chairs. They were drooling on the floor because there was this teenage girl living up to every kind of guy's fantasy. And it was just a great video. The dance routines were really good. The song is really, really strong. And at the forefront of this, you have a really cute girl. And from that moment, you knew Britney was more than just a one-hit wonder. She was this brand, and she was something that was going to be around for a long time.
It's always been very hard to tell how aware Britney was of her sexuality and what it meant to people. And this was a case where, you know, every interview she gave about that video, she said, oh, I thought it would be fun. We'd put on Catholic schoolgirl outfits and dance around. And she talks as if she has no idea that she's a sexual human being. There was so much written about her sexuality. And how aware was she that she was being this vixen? And I mean, the Rolling Stone cover during the first album, she was on the cover in a bra, laying on her bed. And then inside the shoot, they showed her bedroom with her laying half naked. I mean, she was still, I forget exactly how old, but she was like 16 or something like that. Very young. And every interview she gave, she was just like, I don't understand why people are shocked. I mean, Christian groups were boycotting her. You know, people were getting outraged. People were outraged. And Britney always just made it seem like, oh, I don't understand what the big deal is. And you got to look at it and think, either she was incredibly naive to the point of just being somewhat brainless, or she was incredibly shrewd. And I guess everyone has to take their guess as to which they believe.
In the middle of November, whilst riding high on the success of Baby One More Time, Britney embarked on her first full tour, supporting the red-hot boy band NSYNC. For one of the last shows, Britney was to return to the town of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, ironically the very place where she had won the title of Miss Talent Central States a few years before.
Britney first performed here January of 1998. She was booked into the building by Beaver Productions out of New Orleans, and they reserved the date and produced the concert here. She was the opening act for NSYNC, and it was a really big deal for Baton Rouge because, you know, she's a local girl, and she had just released her first major record and her first big hit, and it was like a coming home party for her. Her whole town of Kentwood showed up for the concert. It was really pretty exciting for us here. The concert sold out in about 20 minutes. The performance was really high energy. The crowd was excited. The band was excited. She was excited. There was just a lot of energy in the building. You could feel it when you walked through. What I remember most about the evening was the excitement in the building, all her friends and family being over here from Kentwood, and how excited they were to see her, how much they enjoyed the show. I mean, every one of her friends, you could hear them talking in the audience about, I knew her when she was this, we did this together in the first grade. And, you know, they all knew her. It was all very personal for them. And that made the evening really exciting.
Britney's second hit single, Sometimes, was released in June 1999.
We shot it in LA, and it's a lot of dancing, and it's a place on a beach, and there's a love interest. And it's a wonderful song. It's a really sweet song. It's basically about a girl. She's like in love with this guy, but she doesn't know how to approach him because she's really shy. So.
It was warmly received, together with her other smash hits, Crazy, Born to Make You Happy, and Sonny and Cher's hit, The Beat Goes On.
I thought she had a lot of fun with that song. And that was sort of a savvy updating of this American pop classic that was sort of a cheesy song to begin with, and she sort of continued that.
Whilst Britney has become a huge international star, she has never lost sight that her family are the bedrock of her strength. If her mother hadn't thrown caution to the wind and accompanied Britney to New York all those years back, she may well not have enjoyed the success she has had.
The support from Britney's family was nothing short of incredible. You hear a lot of stories about a family sacrificing to help their kid make it. Britney's family literally sacrificed. They spent everything they had, and a lot that they didn't have, to send her to performing camps, to get her lessons. Now you have to remember, this is a small-town family with 3 kids, because she has an older brother and a younger sister. And they were spending all their money on Britney to the point where they drove themselves into bankruptcy. And these 3 kids, and it's ironic because the bankruptcy filing was right before Britney hit it big.
Britney's mother put her life on hold. And if Britney had an audition somewhere, like when Britney became a member of the Mickey Mouse Club, Walt Disney World, she was young, her mother was there for her all the time. Anything Britney has ever been involved in from a child, her mother has been by her side, 100%, no, 110%.
But they lost land that they owned. They lost vehicles that they owned. And when I say lost, I mean the sheriff came to their house, repossessed their vehicle in front of the whole family, and then auctioned it off on the steps of the courthouse. All the kids knew about it. They had the authorities had to post notices in the local paper, so everyone in the town knew about it. You had to figure this was pretty humiliating for young kids. But this is what their family was going through in order to make Britney famous. And when Britney was about 17, they finally declared bankruptcy. So they really risked losing everything. And then, of course, the next year, Britney became a superstar, and they were saved, and the risk paid off. But imagine if it hadn't.
I think Lynn Spears has been a huge force in getting Britney to where she is today. Obviously, this is part of what Britney wanted as a child. She obviously lent towards singing or acting or wanting to be on the TV. But I don't think any child TV star gets to where they are without a kind of pushy mum behind them. And I think it's definitely fair to say that's true of Lynn Spears. We've heard lots of Britney's mum over the years, which is quite surprising, really. Britney's mum wrote a book, obviously riding on her daughter's success. You can't say that she would have done that and been successful if it wasn't for her very famous daughter. And it's also always been clear that, yeah, Britney has a very close relationship with her mother, but her mum's always been a very keen driving force. So on the days when I'm sure, where, like any teenager, Britney didn't want to get out of bed, it was probably her mum pulling her out of there. You're going to be a superstar, dear, get out of bed. And that's probably what forced her into the spotlight harder than we've seen anyone else forced. And I think you see that of all stars that have grown up in the limelight. Look at Michael Jackson. It was his father that drove him into the spotlight. You know, kids don't do these things on their own. They need a parent behind them who's going to get them there. So I'm sure Britney is ambitious, but I think her mum is very ambitious too.
Britney rocketed from pop starlet to megastar. She became an instant phenomenon across the world and was in demand from virtually every corner of the globe, which for a teenager must have proved an overwhelming experience.
Well, the arc of Britney's career has been, at first she was really just a little novelty. You know, this young girl from Louisiana, from our neighborhood essentially, that put out a record. And then it took off, and then she became this phenomena. So it's, you know, then we started writing about Britney the burgeoning pop star. It was such a rocket rise. I mean, from 0 to 60 in 2.2 seconds, and she was so young when it hit. She'd had some sort of pop star training with the Mickey Mouse Club, and she certainly aspired to it. But I don't think anyone can really know what that's like until it happens. To have so much adulation and so much money, and to be the most searched name on the web. To know that many people are out there trying to look at your pictures and find out details of your personal life. I mean, that's a heavy thing to deal with.
Kentwood has been extremely protective towards their pop princess over the past 5 years, while still enjoying the attention and interest that she has brought to this small town.
When Britney became famous, Kentwood was over the moon. I mean, this is a really small town where everyone knows each other. Britney, played with all the other kids throughout her childhood. And I think from when Britney was very young, there was always this sense among the other residents of Kentwood of, this is our girl. Like, they wanted her to be a superstar, and they wanted her since she was yay big to be a superstar. When she got the Mickey Mouse Club, the whole town just threw this incredible party for her. I mean, there were parades. Every storefront had, congratulations, Britney. The mayor wrote a proclamation and made it Britney Spears Day. These people were into Britney's success. In fact, they had a museum called the Kentwood Museum, which was mostly a museum dedicated to the town's World War II and World War I veterans. They changed that museum and gave at least half of that museum over to Britney and made it the Britney Spears Museum. So here you've got a museum dedicated to to men who've died for their country. And they just said, we're going to take half of that and give that to Britney.
And also a reproduction of her childhood bedroom. Her family gave the museum all the original furniture, and it is recreated there, enshrined behind glass, and there's no picture taking. Kentwood's a pretty easygoing town, but probably the most strict rules are in that museum. And so that's probably the biggest destination in town, second to Britney's mansion.
I know that Britney is so proud of her hometown because she always mentions it. Wherever you go or whatever interview you're in, she's in, she is proud that she is from Kentwood. Kentwood is a very, very small town. Everybody knows everybody. And she made us proud to call Kentwood our home.
I think the folks in Kentwood are very protective of her. It's almost like sort of an expansion of the role Britney's mom plays, in that this is their little girl who's gone off into the big bad world, and they still want to protect her. I mean, they still know her as the girl that popped into the local hamburger stand and went to the local schools and churches. I think maybe some elements of her image give some folks in Kentwood a little pause. Some of the racier photos that she's posed for and some of the videos. I'm sure, the preachers and such in Kentwood maybe would wish she'd wear a little more clothing from time to time. But as a whole, I think they still perceive her as their little girl that's gone on into the world and made good. And they're very interested in protecting her image back home.
Whilst Britney has continued to become a bona fide media sensation, does she really still deserve the accolade of Queen of Teen Pop?
I think she has the required talent for captivating American audiences today. Will we be talking about Britney Spears 50 years from now? I think the jury's still out on that for sure. Madonna has found her permanent place, like Marilyn Monroe and so many others. I don't know that Britney is there yet.
Britney Spears has done what I think is an incredible thing in achieving the level of fame that she has. There are so many actors and musicians and talented people of all kind who may achieve fame that seems a little greater than their talent, but with Britney, the ratio seems just off the charts to me. But she's undoubtedly a phenomenon. It's really incredible how famous she is, how prevalent she is in our culture. Britney is everywhere. And, if people say, well, what is she great at? she's not really great at anything, you know, but she's great at being famous. And she's just done a miraculous job. So I thought, you know, this was, if you ask who's the most powerful celebrity in our culture, Britney's one of them. You know, that she was actually, I think, Forbes magazine, when they named the most powerful celebrities, I think it was 2 years ago, Britney was #1. That's a remarkable achievement for a girl who I think at the time was about 20. So that's a phenomenon worth writing about.
Because it's not just about the musicianship or someone having this fabulous voice. It's about the songs, which people know and want to hear, replicated the same way, but you've also got to give them something else visually. So, I mean, she's come up with some amazing effects. Tour before last, I believe it was, she had this sort of indoor rain effect where it was actually raining in the arena and on the stage, and she and her dancers got all wet. But it wasn't just a little bit of rain. I mean, it was a monsoon, and I don't know how they worked out the drainage system for this off the stage, but it was a pretty cool effect. I'd never seen anything like that before.
Because you look at her live shows, she's not singing. Or if she is, she's singing heavily over tracks. There's been a lot of controversy about Britney lip-syncing in concert, and she's denied it a lot, but anyone at the show is like, come on, there's no question. I mean, Britney actually said once, she said, I don't lip-sync at my shows, but sometimes I need a little help. Like, come on, you're lip-syncing. But you know what? It doesn't matter. The fans don't care.
But offstage, who is the real Britney Spears?
Interviewing Britney can be really hard work because she's very, very savvy to who she is and who she is as a brand. So this isn't about living her life how she wants to do it. It's about living this role model's life, about living a brand, if you like. So you buy into the Britney brand. You're not really buying into that girl, Britney. So when you come to interview her, that can be really hard because she toes the line every single time. She's not too outrageous. She's not too emotional, so she doesn't give too much away. She's just quite calm and collected, gives quite short answers, and generally says the same thing again and again. So you know she's quite pleasant and you know she's quite sweet. But trying to dig out the dirt or just to get her to say something a bit more outrageous or to kind of see her sense of humour or to get some kind of flavour of who Britney really is can be quite hard.
My only time to really chat with her was when we were on the radio. And, you know, she knows how to do interviews. She's been trained. She knows the right answers. And the problem is so in that meeting, I learned nothing about Britney Spears as a human being. She was a great product, said all the right things, thanked her fans, said it was great to be in Britain. You know, all the normal cliched stuff that you could tick off in the boxes, and then she left. So my feeling was, Britney Spears, yeah, nice looking girl. That was Britney Spears. That was a huge entourage. Bye. And off she went. Next time I met her was when we were doing the Pepsi Chart TV show. And strangely, she was left in a room on her own, because normally Britney's never left. She's got minders and people and mentors looking after her. She was still about 17 at this time. And she was on her own in a room. And we were going to do an interview, but actually the camera hadn't arrived. So we were actually sitting there for about 20 minutes having a chat, which was really nice. And in that time, what I found was a sweet young girl who was desperate to do some normal things.
She's just really well marketed, and they've just made it clear from day one that she will present a certain image and that she must live up to that in every way. And I think that's where we've seen the changes with Britney over the years. You saw Baby One More Time, and the whole Britney brand at that time was about sweet and innocence, but with a little bit of sex appeal. You move on to Oops, I Did It Again, and suddenly you're getting a raunchier side of Britney, but she's still playing it quite safe. She's still got Justin on her arm, and, you know, she's in a couple. She's still saying she doesn't believe in sex before marriage, but actually you're seeing a raunchier side of her, and she's starting to grow up.
Although it seems the dream life goes to places but never visits them. You know, she gets out of a plane, she gets in a car, she goes to a hotel, she goes to a studio, a radio studio, goes to perform, goes to rehearsals, plane, and the same thing, you know, repeated 100 times. Never gets to go anywhere, never does anything real, never been shopping in London. And that's what she wanted to do. She wanted to go shopping in London with her friends. That would have been her dream. But actually, she couldn't do it because she had no time and wasn't allowed out and blah, blah, blah. And I remember saying to her, don't you think this is stupid? Here you are, you're famous, you're doing well, you got some money. She goes, yeah, it'd be nice to be able to be able to go off and do those things. And I'm sure that's the problem of a lot of young stars. They've got the machine, the marketing machine, the management, the record company, everyone around them telling them, go here, say that, be that, do that, look like that. And actually there comes a point where I'm sure they just want to be themselves. So at that time I thought, actually Britney, she was a sweet girl. Actually she was a sweet young girl, because you see the grown-up, sexy, confident Britney Spears dancing in the video, and she was just like a little girl sitting down having a chat.
Britney recorded her new songs for an eagerly anticipated second album, Oops, I Did It Again, in April 2000. And the single of the same name shot to the top of the music charts around the globe.
I like Oops, I Did It Again. I like it because I thought she looked amazing in that. She looked super hot in that red catsuit. You know, great dancing, very slick, very pro, and again, a very catchy pop song. You know, the songwriters came up with the goodie there. It's one of those, you play it on the radio and it just leapt out of the radio. It was good.
Oops, I Did It Again, I think, is just so memorable. I think that it's just a really exciting track, and it kind of makes you want to get up and dance.
Other tracks included Lucky and the controversial cover version, I Can't Get No Satisfaction.
That wasn't maybe the smartest song for her to cover, I Can't Get No Satisfaction. That was like sort of a sacred cow that perhaps she should not have revisited.
Britney's self-titled third album, with tracks such as I'm a Slave for You, was an attempt to cultivate a more mature approach.
Slave for You is a really good track because, you know, it's doing something a little bit different. It's not the standard pop track, and it gave you another chance to see another side of Britney, which was just a little bit more interesting.
It's very different from any other song that I've ever done, I think, personally, and it's just the type of song that when you hear it on the radio, it's got a really good groove to it, and you just want to, you know, you just want to dance. And I like it. It's really definitely different for me, but, you know, this is the kind of music that I'm listening to right now, so that's kind of the direction that my music is going towards, so I hope people like it.
And around the same time, her personal life starts to unravel a little bit, and we're finding a bit more out about her. She's getting a bit sexier and a bit more interesting. And then until we hit I'm Not a Girl, Not Yet a Woman, where suddenly we've got confused Britney, and actually at the same time you're seeing real fallout in her personal life.
However, its sales were far from as strong as her previous albums. Was this to be the end of Britney's music career?
She had some pretty naff records out, and no one over in the UK gave a monkeys, really. Yeah, she was good looking. Yeah, she was in Vegas with a snake wrapped around her neck. Big deal. Yeah. If the records aren't good, radio's not going to play it. If radio's not going to play it, people don't get it into their heads. You know, MTV and the video channels can watch, and they'll show the Britney because she looks hot in it, but they won't keep hammering it if radio isn't supporting it. You need radio to still break records and get that consciousness into people's heads that, oh yeah, just see that familiarity of a song. And if we're not hammering it, it's probably not going to happen. And I think her last few records have been a bit dull.
Britney's had quite a turbulent relationship with smash hits, if you like, because she came out with such a huge boom that you couldn't get enough of her. You wanted her on the cover as often as you can. You wanted pictures of her inside. You wanted posters. You wanted, you know, interviews with her. You wanted gossip from her. You wanted her new song words first. All of a sudden, after Oops, I Did It Again, actually we decided that perhaps Britney wasn't as hot as she once was. And there was just a bit of a lull, and I think as her music got raunchier and sexier, teenage girls started to get a bit turned off by her, really, because actually she was a bit too grown up. She was moving further away from her target audience. And then recently we've kind of seen her creep back into the headlines for various stories, be they good or bad, and that's kind of lifted some sort of interest, but didn't really bring her into the heartland of a teenage girl or someone who was a fan, if you like, who would spend all their money going to her concerts or buying her CDs or plastering posters up on the wall about her. So basically from there we've kind of seen this rock bottom dip.
Britney's mainstream film debut, Crossroads, was released in early 2002 to mixed reviews, arguably due to its lightweight dealings with serious teenage issues. We'll have to wait then and see if Britney's film career grows and ventures into more challenging territory.
Well, this is my first movie, so I'm not really expecting an Academy Award, but in the future, You know, acting really challenges me because it's definitely a new territory and I'm not used to that. So, but in the future, I would love to get recognition, so we'll see.
Her fourth album saw Britney moving further away from teen pop and cultivating a sexually charged adult image. The 2003 album, In the Zone, included a collaboration with Madonna on Me Against the Music.
She is like, oh, you know what I mean, to me. Like, she's been my idol since I was a little girl. So I was a little nervous when I met her. I was really a goob. Oh, so embarrassed. I can't believe, like, normally I'm really cool when I meet people. You know, hey, what's up, you know. I went to her and I was like, I feel like I should hug you. I know, she was like, she is a dork. I was so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed. If I could take that back, I totally would. But no, she had me starstruck. She really did. She's the one person that has me, you know, like that.
At Smash Hits, we were not too surprised by Britney's relationship with Madonna. They've both talked for years about how they have the greatest respect and admiration for one another. Britney, in every single interview I've ever read, has talked about how Madonna was her role model when she grew up. It was Madonna that she wanted to be like. So it's no surprise that really she's ended up working with her. And especially at a time when Madonna needs her more than Britney needs Madonna, you know, this helps Madonna far more than it ever helped Britney. From the day she wore Britney on her T-shirt, this was about, you know, living off someone else's hype and stealing her limelight, if you like, stealing her youth and her attraction and her audience. Because as Madonna moves on and moves out of the limelight, Britney's been stealing it all, and Madonna is obviously quite clearly wanting a taste of that again. I don't think it was a good move for Britney. I don't think the kiss was a good move for Britney. And I don't think the video or the track did any good for her either. It was really more about bettering Madonna's career and kind of smacked of desperation, really, in a let's see what we can do, let's see what I can get out of someone else.
Britney's friendship with Madonna, well, in a way, it's understandable. Here is Madonna has been a superstar all of Britney Spears' life. Ever since Britney Spears could understand what was going on around her, Madonna was huge. Suddenly, you know, Britney is this big star as well, and that's, you know, stars have icons too. They have people that they would be excited to meet, and I'm sure Britney was very excited to meet Madonna. Madonna is a superstar. She is Madonna. I think she probably kind of took Britney under her wing a little bit and tried to help her out. You know, Britney's a talented girl, and I don't know whether Madonna could see she was struggling a little bit or, you know, not coping too well with life in the public eye. But, you know, they obviously became mates, worked on that record together. Not the greatest record, I've got to be honest. You see, that to me was not a great record, but two great superstar names together. And then there was that kiss, which I found pathetic. I found the whole kiss thing pathetic, on both sides. I found it pathetic for Madonna to do it, personally, just because it's not shocking anymore. It's, in a way, it's ridiculous how much attention it got around the world. Wow. You know, they made it out that these two were French kissing, having some orgy on stage. It was like a peck that lasted a second, you know, and it was turned into this wild lesbian fantasy, Madonna and Britney, you know, snogging, which is... It just shows how hysterical the media can be sometimes. But at the same time, here were these two big superstars having a kiss on stage, even though a small one. But, hey, look, it got the media's attention. It was the front page news everywhere. It was a story that everyone was talking about. So if that was their intention, by God, it worked very well.
You know, the alliance that Britney and Madonna have forged serves both of their purposes well. You know, for Madonna, being associated with a more contemporary, current artist helps her be perceived as contemporary herself, seeing as how her last couple of records didn't do as well. She needs to do something to stay in the public eye. Affiliating herself with Britney helps that purpose. For Britney's, you know, from Britney's end, Madonna is, I think, the sort of career that she would love to have. So if she can be perceived as Madonna's protege or as Madonna, you know, sort of passing the torch to her, that's exactly the position I think that Britney would like to be in. So it's a win-win situation between Britney and Madonna there.
Toxic, released from the album in early 2004, has all the hooks and innocence equal to any of Britney's past bubblegum classics.
And then we heard Toxic, and we thought, actually, you know what, this could be the song that brings it back for Smash Hits readers, because this is fun, this is energetic, it's got a bit of a crazy video, And Britney's actually doing what she does best, and that's just belting her heart out and having a bit of a dance routine, and having the kind of song that you want to sing along to, and you want to be part of that Britney experience again.
I think that this album isn't necessarily saying anything. I think the music is just a feeling on this record, on this album. It's kind of like this journey of, you know, songs that aren't so song structured. It's just kind of like a mood and a vibe that you feel when you hear the record.
So now we're back in a position where we're thinking to ourselves on Smash Hits, you know what, Britney's cover material again. Teenage girls are interested. They want to know about her again. She's been away for a while. Perhaps that's part of the reason why it's so interesting. And actually, she's probably going to be a bit of a role model again. She's made her mistakes. People actually like her more for having made mistakes, not for being perfect all the time. And they can see there's a girl inside there somewhere that actually, you know, maybe you do want to be like Britney again.
And thank God she came back with Toxic, because there's no doubt Britney is a great pop star, you know, compared to a lot of the, you know, the great thing the Americans give us. They always come out with very well produced, you know, very well rehearsed, very well choreographed, you know, great image performances. And that's what she is. She is pure American. She's as American to me as sort of like Mickey Mouse and McDonald's. You know, I thought her career could have been all over if she hadn't come up with a good pop song. She needed to, she got all the image, she got the moves, she had, you know, she had clearly got the attention of all the media, but what she was coming out with were crap records, and she needed to come out with a good pop song, and Toxic was a good pop song.
It's an evolution in the sense that she's sort of refining the sort of contemporary pop that she does by working with another batch of producers of the moment, sort of thing, guys that, you know, that have songs in clubs right now, that can give her the tracks that she can lay her voice over, and, you know, and they're going to sound good over the radio. You know, it's not any sort of breakthrough or break with the past. I mean, it is what it is, which is what she's been doing all along. I mean, it's just another step in that same path, same evolution, and it's served her well up to this point. So I don't see her, you know, coming up with a you know, a bluegrass album anytime soon, or like, you know, or a pure rap album. I mean, she's going to continue to make these sort of pop albums with a little bit of hip hop in them, just because that's what suits her, and that's what served her audience well. So this record is another one in that evolution.
The one person that Britney has to thank for her success more than anyone else is herself. Her story is one of self-belief and dedication. Britney has an unflappable confidence that she knows she can rely upon to pull her through any situation.
I love what I do. You know, honestly, I love what I do, and that's what keeps me going. I love getting on stage at night and performing my heart out. I live to, you know, go on a set and, you know, be a character and tell a story to somebody. That's what I love.
Her success has a lot to do with right place at the right time. You know, it was the right song with the right video and the right look at the right time. But then she, you know, either purposely or not, sort of cultivated this cult of personality around her, which grew, you know, out of control.
I think there's a lot of reasons why Britney was such a huge success. I think part of the reason is that she just came at a perfect time, and a lot of this can be down to timing. If there's a huge amount of these acts around, it's hard to make your name known. But if you come along and you're the first and you're the forerunner of a different style of music, then of course that's going to be a brilliant, brilliant launch pad to get you noticed. I think Britney really is more about a package. I think it's the fact that she looks the way she does. She has a really massive voice for someone who's so little. She's got fantastic dance routines. She comes across as a nice girl most of the time, and I think that's always quite appealing.
I think part of it is that when Britney was starting, she was this wonderful combination for teenage girls of being what they all wanted to be, but also being like them. Like, they can relate to her, but also see their dreams in her. And that's not an easy thing to pull off, and I think for a while there she did it. Now, of course, she's a sexual curiosity in a lot of ways. You know, people are just, they're entranced with her.
But there was something about Britney, about the way Britney presented herself in those early videos, the way that she dealt with the press, you know, the way that she portrayed herself, you know, this very sort of sexy image, but coupled with still a little bit of that small town girl innocence. You know, it was a very appealing combination. She could be the naughty girl who was still a nice girl, and that just struck a chord beyond just the kids that bought the records for, you know, the sake of the songs. I mean, it created this cult of personality, which in turn fueled album sales. You know, because people are curious about it. People know her. You know, she's got incredible brand name recognition. You know, everyone knows who Britney Spears is now. And, you know, sooner or later, a lot of those people are going to pick up a record just out of curiosity, if nothing else.
She just represents so many different things about what people want to be, and she lives the dream that people long to have. And I think that's really, really appealing in an artist. And she also seems to enjoy it. I mean, she's never, ever said, you know, I'm not doing this, I'm doing this because I have to. This is something that she longs to do, and she's working really, really hard to get there. The fact that she was working as a kid in the Mickey Mouse Club, but still, you know, this many years on is still topping the charts and is still all over the newspapers, still lined up to be in films, still the head of advertising campaigns, just shows that she's, you know, basically really, really desirable for many different people.
Britney has become a massive success, to start with because she had a brilliant first record with a brilliant first video. It captured the imagination, and she's managed to keep it going till then. But she needs another great record, because you can't have an entire career on your first record. You need more than that. And I don't think she's come out with any brilliant records since then. She needs one badly. There's no doubt the girl's great looking. She's got a body to die for. Every guy would probably at one time have thought what she'd be like in the sack. And I think a lot of girls think she's a good-looking girl. She's, you know, projecting a good, powerful image, and they don't mind her either.
Well, I think Britney first came out as an attractive, talented singer. That's what the industry's all about. And she did what many don't often have the chance to. She survived. She's survived. She's discovered the whole Madonna effect of reinventing herself.
But, you know, she's reached a point where her celebrity, like I said, has eclipsed everything she's done. And I think once you hit that stratosphere, you kind of coast for a while. But as far as how far she can coast, we don't know. But so to answer your question, why is Britney so famous? You know, that is a question that so many people don't understand. And I can't profess to have the answers, but somewhere she did something right. And if anyone can ever figure it out, they're going to make a lot of money.
So what does the future hold for Britney? She is a multi-talented performer with the world at her feet. And with so many different options within the entertainment industry, it is essential for longevity that she makes the right choices.
Over the years, it's been really hard to say what Britney's longevity is, I think, because we've seen her hit such a roller coaster, go from top of the charts to out of people's favour hugely. Today, I say that Britney has actually got a long-term career in plan just by looking at Toxic, because it is such a huge track and it does really sum up where Britney can go. I think the track before, Me Against the Music, I thought Britney was over. I thought it was a last-ditch attempt to try and do something cool, to team up with one of her icons, but not necessarily a teenage girl's icon, and actually say, you know, this is what I'm all about. This isn't what Britney's about. Britney's a solo girl, and that's all you want from her. You want fantastic songs and fantastic dance routines.
I don't know what the future holds for Britney, because it's a very interesting question. She doesn't seem well poised to have longevity as an artist, because she's never been an artist. She's been a marketing product. She's been a celebrity. And where she goes from here, I mean, she could be the next Pamela Anderson. You know, how much more outrageous can she be? That seems to be where it's going. Like, how much more outrageous can you be? And you hit a wall after a while. You know, a lot of people think that within 5 years we will see Britney's breasts somewhere. You know, that'll generate a lot of attention. But who knows? As far as her recording, you know, it seemed with this past album, she just wanted to get more adult and more sexy and more sexy and more sexy and more sexy. How much more can you push it? You know, if you look at Madonna's career, which Britney emulates, Madonna finally just did a book where she was naked in the whole book. Will Britney go there? It could be. You know, a lot of people are hoping for it. We'll find out.
And we know that Britney may not be about having a perfect singing voice. Britney's about a package deal, and that's what you want. When you go to a Britney concert, okay, she might dance more than she sings, but that's part of her charm because she's putting on a show. She's an entertainer, if you like. We don't want her to sit and sing ballads. We want her to belt her heart out, shake her booty around, and just have a bit of fun with what she's doing. So I think looking at Toxic, if she can pull more of those sort of tracks out of the back, and there's a few tracks on the album that I think you'll be able to hear and actually go, yeah, you know, I love this side of Britney. I think that she's got a long career ahead of her. However, if her personal life gets in the way, she still struggles with living in the limelight, and she's grown up in it. It's been a really, really tough kind of path, and she's worked so hard to get to where she has today, that could take its toll. So whether she chooses to go all the way and stay in the public eye is another matter.
A lot of people forget that Madonna initially was dismissed as a lightweight, as just a pop star who dressed up pretty and, you know, crawled around on a bed and sang like a virgin and all that. No one thought she had any sort of staying power or any sort of real musical heft to her, any sort of real musical integrity. Obviously, that proved not to be the case. I mean, she evolved and grew and became this hugely important and influential artist. You know, does Britney have that same sort of potential? I don't know. I mean, she hasn't really shown it yet, and she's made, you know, a couple of sort of silly offstage moves, i.e. her recent marriage debacle, you know, that show she still has some growing to do and some maturity to do. But she, you know, again, she's what, 22, 23? I mean, she's still a very young person who is probably doing the sorts of things that young people do at that age. And especially after being sort of shot through this incredible amount of celebrity and wealth, I mean, that's got to sort of mess with your maturation process a little bit. So how she emerges after all this, you know, does she become an artist with Madonna's staying power and importance? Who knows, you know? I think the jury's still out on that one, but it'll be interesting to see.
She needs something that's not pop, that's not so overproduced. It's one where she can sing a song, and she's got to prove to people that she's got a good voice, and she can sing a knockout ballad. I haven't heard it from her yet. That's personally what I think she needs. If she did that, I think she would change a lot of people's opinion about her. People at the moment that think she's just great, beautiful pop trash, to becoming a really big superstar artist. But you've got to have that, otherwise the problem with these records, all the records she's come out with so far, if they're overproduced, they're very much records for now. They sound great now. You're never going to play Toxic in 2 years' time. The only one of her records that people will ever play in 10 years' time would be Baby Hit Me One More Time, because it was sort of a classic pop song. But the other ones are just moments. They're just production moments that are now and they're finished. As soon as it's off the radio and off the playlist, you never play it again. And you can't have a career. You want people to be digging out a record in 10 years' time, as we will, for example, with Robbie Williams and Angels, Christina and Beautiful. They're career records that you put on and you just go, what a great song.
I think over the years to come that we'll see more kind of gossip from the Britney camp. We'll hear a few more juicy stories. Hopefully she'll start to tell us a bit more herself, just about what life's been like for her and where she plans to go. And I'm sure that with all this experience, you'll get a different sound, a different maturity in her music. And, you know, I'm sure she'll continue to surprise us with new tracks and great new albums.
Britney started out winning small-town singing competitions. She sailed through the Mickey Mouse Club and went on to produce her first worldwide mega hit, Baby One More Time, and others such as Oops, I Did It Again and Toxic. She has always known deep down that she has got what it takes and keeps taking on new challenges as an artist, which is something you can be sure Britney Spears will do for many years to come.